Hi guys, welcome back to Cat's Crochet World. Today we are making Halloween basket covers. And as you can see, we've already used this and it's worked out great. So I made two. I made a pumpkin one and a ghost. And I will show you how to make both of these today. All right, let's get started. So for today's project, you're gonna need orange and white if you're doing both the ghost and the pumpkin, and black for the face. I am using I Love This yarn for both the white and the orange, and the black I'm using Red Hearts with Love Metallic. And the white is an antique white, and the orange is Desert Glade. Also, I'm using all acrylic, and I'm using a medium or a 4-weight yarn for this project. You will also need a G-hook or a 4mm, scissors, a stitch marker, and the one thing I don't actually have, which I will go get, is a yarn needle, which you will need a tapestry needle. When you're done, you'll have to sew in your ends. You're also gonna need, move that stuff out of the way, a bucket. Okay, let's talk about the bucket for a minute. I got this bucket at my local Dollar Tree. It's a decent sized bucket. My kids will get to put lots of candy in it and have lots of room. But you could use any kind of basket, really, or bucket, plastic, preferably one that's round like this. If you wanted to, you could recycle those Easter buckets or Halloween buckets that you can get from like Walmart, not the shaped ones like into pumpkins or things, but just the round circle ones. You could redo those, or you could get on Amazon, and I'll see if I can find a bucket and link it to the description below that would work great for this. I will show you how to measure your project to your bucket to make sure it fits right when we get that far. And as for materials go, that's it. That's all you need. All right, to get started, you're gonna need to start with a slip knot, and you're gonna chain 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3. And now you're going to put your hook into the first chain you made and turn it into a loop. Now my suggestion is that you hold on to your loop so it makes it really easy for you to find for the next step. And the next step is the chain 1 and single crochet into the circle 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then take a moment to use your stitch counter to mark your last stitch. Now I find this kind of confusing of where the first stitch is sometimes. Get this back on the middle where you guys can see it. As you see, there's this spot right here, and it's hard to tell if that's your first stitch. So what I do is I just go backwards. I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it's pretty obvious that this one right here is your first stitch. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. Right here is your first stitch, and not this chain spot. But don't worry, I get confused sometimes too, and I've been doing this for a long time, so you just count. it helps. I'm not gonna get my yarn so it's not tangled. And now we're gonna put 2 single crochets into that first stitch. So 1, and that one of course closes up the circle a little better. 2, and then you're going to put 2 and then all stitches around, so you'll end up with 12 stitches. And how I count this one is I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, I tried to do a double. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11, and 12. And I know that I'm always going to end on an even number because I'm doing 2 in each one. So that's your second row. Then you're going to want to move your stitch marker to mark that last stitch. Okay, so now for the third row, you're going to single crochet 2 times into the first stitch. So 1 single, 2 single. Then you're going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So now that's 1. Then you're going to do 2 singles into the next stitch. 1, and 2. And hold on, I gotta get my yarn. It's getting caught. It's making it hard to crochet. Okay, so then you're going to do 1 to the next stitch, 2 double or 2 single into the next stitch, and you're going to do that all the way around. And 1 into the next one. And how I count that is I count it 1, 2, knowing I got to put 2 in that first stitch, and 3, and 1, because I only have 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So 1, 2, and 1, and 1, 2, and you're done with the third row. Move your stitch counter. We're on to row number 4. Alright, for number 4, you're going to do 2 singles in the first stitch. 1, 2, and then 1 single on the next 2 stitches. So I would do 1 single here and 1 single here, and now I'm going to do 2 singles in the next stitch. 1 here, 2 here, and this is how I would count this. I would say, oh, let me finish this. 1 single in this stitch and 1 single in this stitch. Now let's count from the beginning. Okay, so I would count it as 1 single and 2 in the same stitch, and then 1, 2 for the next 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. And you're going to do that all the way around, and I'll catch up with you at the end of the row. 2 and 1 and 2. Alright, so now do my stitch marker. For row 5, you're going to do 2 singles in the first stitch and then 1 single in the next 3. So this is where the counting is important. If you want to keep track of your stitches, this is the easiest way to do it. So I do, or anyway, easiest way for me. 2 singles in the next stitch, and then 1 single in the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. 2 singles in the next stitch, 1, 2, and 1 single in the next 3, 1, 2, 3, and you repeat that through the whole row, and I'll catch up to you at the end. All right, now we're back to the beginning. And this time, we're going to do 2 in the first stitch, 2 singles in the first stitch, and then we're going to do 1 single in the next 4 stitches. You're going to do that all the way around. So 1 single and 2 single in the same stitch, and then 1 single in the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 single in the next stitch, 1, 2, and then 1 single in the next 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 single in the next stitch, 1, 2, and 4 single, well, 1 single in the next 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you're going to continue to do that up until you are done with this row. When you're done with this row, you're going to continue doing 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to whatever you need to get it big enough to go on the bottom of your bucket. For me, I'm going to go up to 18, and then I will show you how it fits so that you can see how I size it, because the sizing, like I said, is a little different because you are trying to make it fit something, knowing it's going to stretch. So just keep that in mind as you go. And it always starts with the 2 and then ends with the number on every row until you get your circle as big as you need it. So I will go ahead and let you do as many as you need to do, and I'll go do mine, and then I'll meet back up with you as soon as I get mine as far as I need it. Okay, so I went 17 rounds, and I decided that I better check it. Let's see if you guys can see that. And it looks good. It just barely touches the edges. I don't know. I guess that's as good as I can get it for you guys. Sorry, I need a bigger surface. But that way, you can see how it barely touches the end. And that's okay because you want it to be tight. So now when we move on to our next step, it'll start hugging the bucket just like we want it to. So, move my bucket over here out of our way. And now, we are going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And again, you're just going around in a circle, so you are not connecting the end. So just single crochet to get right back to where your stitch marker is. And I'll meet back up with you as soon as I get there. Okay, so I've gone around one time, and you can see it starting to curl now. And it's going to curl this way around the bottom of the bucket. And that way it'll give us some form. It's starting to get the form. So now for the next row, you're going to do another row of single crochets in every stitch. So just like this. Hold on, let me turn my light off. Let's see if that helps with the lighting on my camera here. So see, then you can just do one single all the way around. All right, so I finished my last row and I took out my stitch holder. And you no longer need it because these next stitches you go around in circles, but you have an end and a beginning. But anyway, I just wanted to show you how tight this is now, with it starting to curl up around the outside. It doesn't really show much yet, but you'll see it dramatically once we start adding these other stitches in. All right, so now on to the double crochet part of our bucket quite quickly, because double crochets of course take up more room. Okay, so you're right here at your last stitch. You're going to chain at your last single crochet, and then you are going to do a double crochet in the same stitch. Now this double crochet is the beginning of this new row. This single chain you put on here on the single crochet does not count as part of this row, and you'll see why when we get back around. But now you're just going to put one double crochet in each of these stitches around. And now we are building up the sides. And remember, we're technically working on the outside of the bucket. This right here is the outside. This is the part people will see. This is the part that sits on the bucket itself. So as you crochet, it'll start turning the way you want it to turn, but it's going to take a little bit of rows here to get it to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and when I get all the way back around to the beginning, I'll show you how to connect the two. All right, I'm almost all the way around. To the beginning. Couple more double crochets here. And I'll show you how we connect the two. All right, so one more. All right, now we're back to the beginning, and you have this weird stitch here. You're actually going to skip that one, and you're going to slip stitch into this top of this one over here, and that's how it's going to look. And it looks a little wonky because you're going from a round to closing off each round, but it will work. Just give it a couple stitches and you won't even see it. But as you can see, it's really starting to give it that curves look now, where you can see the edges starting to curl up. Also, your bucket will fit in the middle of it. And see how it's already starting to hug it? That's what you want. All right, so let's do one more round. And this time you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet into that same stitch. So it kind of looks like you have 2 stitches there in that same place. But remember, this is a false stitch, so you're not actually going to keep this one, but you do need that first double there. And now you're going to go around and double crochet in each sorry, getting my hands out of the video camera here. You're gonna double crochet in each of the circle here, each of these stitches around the circle. And then when you get back around, I'll show you how to close the circle, and we'll check it one last time on our bucket to make sure it's still nice and tight, and then we will move on. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so I'm almost all the way around. And it's starting to curl, but mine's curling the wrong way, so I'm going to have to turn it around. But I want to check it on my bucket just to make sure that it's staying nice and tight. And as you can see, I have now crocheted in this last stitch. So then I'm going to go to the first V-stitch of this first double crochet, slip stitch that together. And then I'm going to turn it around and flip it there, so that all it now is going the correct way. And then put your bucket in it, double check it. It's a little loose, but I think it'll tighten up as I bring up the sides. And now you're just going to do that same stitch all the way around, slip stitching into the first stitch at the end of every row, chain 2, double crochet in the first spot, and just keep going until you are up to the top of your bucket. You want to go up to the top, and then we will add handles and our faces. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to go, and I will come back as soon as I get mine tall enough, which if I based it off of what I currently have, I'm thinking at least 10 rows. So I'll be back in 10 rows to see how close I am to finishing, and you can take a look at it with me. Okay, so I went ahead and finished up my rounds. As you can see, it's just at the top of my basket, or my bucket. When you put the handles on, it will stretch. So don't worry about that too much. All I did to finish it off was I slip stitched my last row together. Then I did a chain, I pulled it tight, cut it, and weaved in the ends. And I can show you that as we do the next part, which is the handles. So we'll set that aside. And what you have to do to make your handles. Now you're going to want to make your handles however your basket will work the best. I'll show you my idea, and then you're going to have to measure your own basket if you didn't, you want to make sure that they fit yours and not necessarily fit mine. You have a little bigger basket, you're going to need longer handles. If you have a smaller basket, you're going to need smaller handles. But for my basket, I need to chain 25. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now you're going to skip the first chain, go to the second chain from your hook, and that's where you're going to start your single crochets. You're going to do one single for each stitch, giving you 24 stitches in this row. And the foundation row always takes me longer. And it does to a lot of people, because you don't really have your project started yet. You don't have that foundation set up, and so putting it through takes a little longer. I sound all hoarse all of a sudden, don't I? See if I can fix that. Is that better? There we go. Anyway, nope, it's still worse. See what happened? Then used up all my words. Anyway, so yeah, don't worry if this row takes you longer than, say, the rest of your bucket has. But once you get this done, it should go pretty quick. All right, we're come to the end. All right, now that you've gone to the end of your row, you're going to chain one and turn your piece around. So now your piece is going the other direction. Well, leave this tail. You're going to help to sew that in. Probably should have told you that at the beginning, huh? You're going to want a tail. I didn't even think about it, to be perfectly honest. Leave a tail, because you're going to use that to sew this to the bucket. Alright, so single crochet all the way down again, making this a 2-row handle. You could use a double crochet here, but it's not going to be as thick and easy to hold on to as the single crochets are, even though a single crochet is basically the same size as a double crochet. Just realize that you need more room, or more, you want it to be substantial for the kids to grab onto, or for you to grab onto. And let me get to the end of the row and then I'll show you what we're doing next. Alright, so I'm now at the last stitch. And you see there's a false stitch there, right? I don't know if you guys can see it very well. But right here at the very end, there's a little loop. That's a false stitch. Don't use that. You want to crochet into this one right here. Makes a V. That's the stitch you want to use for your last stitch. And whoops. I tried to do a slip stitch instead of a single. There we go. And then you want to chain one and pull tight. And this time, make sure you leave yourself enough room to sew it in. Because like I said, you're going to need to sew it in. Alright. Now just make 2 of those. Alright, so I got both of my handles made and I already threaded my needle. We are going to put these on our buckets. Now I do this with the actual bucket inside, just for convenience. I'm going to start by pulling this yarn through like so. It's kind of hard for me to show you because my camera's set up weird, but you're going to go ahead and you're going to go back through this and through here, and you're just going to sew it tight, go back through like this on this side so that none of your stitches go over your crocheting. And then the last stitch goes there, like so. You can see how it's nice and on there now. Now you're going to want to tie this tight. And this one I go over. Make a loop, pull my needle through, pull it tight, go through again. This gives it that double knot. Okay, now you're gonna weave this in, and what I do is I'm gonna weave it in this way so that it's into the handle, and I'm gonna push it all the way to the back side of my handle. And now on the back side, I'm going to weave it in nice and tight, one direction, pull it through. Whoop. Remember to skip the last stitch you went through so that you don't accidentally undo all the work you just did. It's kind of hard doing it on the opposite side that I would normally do it on. Put in your yarn. See, usually it's long enough and I don't have to worry about it, but this time I didn't quite get enough, so I did it this way. Just one of my little ways to do things when I don't have enough room. Then you just cut that off, and one side of your basket is done. Now, these do not go across. These go sideways, so that you'll have two handles going like this, and then when you pick them up, it'll move it towards the middle. And I have discovered that if I do 30 stitches, it makes for a really good size of a handle. So I'm going to count starting right next to the one. So I'm going to start with this one, right next to the one that I had finished. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And this is where I'm going to put my next, sew in my next handle. Make sure this is not twisted. It's easy for it to get twisted, and if it's twisted, put my stitch marker right there so I know where to start sewing. If it gets twisted, it's gonna not lay the way you want it to. Alright, then you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna sew it on. And because this is hard for me to sew on camera, I'm gonna go ahead and sew it on off camera. I'll add my second handle, and then we'll start on the eyes. Alright, so I got both my handles on, and now you can see how they come together. When I'm all done, I'll move my camera so you guys can really see the project completed. But that's the idea, is that my kid now has two handles. They can open it up for the candy, hold it in one hand. Great for trick-or-treating. If you're gonna do what I'm doing, which I'm doing the ghost and I'm doing a pumpkin. So here, exact same thing, pumpkin style. Oh, there's something in the bucket. Dog hair. Look at that. I have a German Shepherd, and since fall's happened, he's been shedding quite a bit. So now we're gonna make eyes, and we're gonna start with the ghost first because that's gonna be super easy. You're gonna need black. Alright, so to make your eyes, you're gonna make a slip knot and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you're gonna make a loop. By slip stitching into the first chain you made, chain 1, and do 6 single crochets into the middle of your circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then, oops, I almost forgot to put my stitch counter in there. Put your stitch counter just like that. Now, the next one, you are going to do 2 into each stitch. So, giving you 12 altogether, just like on your bucket. Whoops. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Now, you are going to do 2 stitches in the first. So, 1, whoops, yarn keeps splitting on me. 1, 2, and then 1 in the next. And then 2 and 2 singles in the next stitch, and 1 single in the next, all the way around until you get back to the beginning. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, and 1. Now, at this point is a good time to take a look and see if it's as big as you want it. For me, it is. So I'm going to take out my stitch holder, marker, or whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch. And that way it closes the circle up. I'm going to chain 1, pull tight, and I'm going to leave a long tail so I can sew it on. And that is number 1 eye. Now I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more like this so that we can have eyes and a mouth. I might make the mouth 1 more row. We'll see when I get there. Let me go ahead and make my second eyeball. And I'll be right back. All right, there's the 2 eyes. And the mouth. I did decide that I wanted to go ahead and do another round, so I was going to do that with you guys. But I have worked the same as I did with these. So now you're going to do 2 in the first, 1, 2, and then 1 in each of the next 2. Hold on, I got my hair in there. Silly long hair. So 1 single in that one, and 1 single in the next one. Now 2 singles in the next stitch, 1, 2, and 1 single in each of the next 2 stitches. And you're going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and remove the stitch marker, and 2, and then slip stitch into the first stitch you had made and tie off. All right, now we're going to take these and sew them onto our bucket. Now I am going to work in this, let's see if I can get it under the video. So let's see, there we go. So here's the two handles. I'm going to put my face right in between those two handles, because as my kid's holding them, that's how they're going to hold it, so the face will be out front. And the best way I do this to kind of place it where it is, you can do this a couple different ways. Some people put pins in it, like straight pins, like you're gonna sew with material. Some people use the safety pins to pin it on. I just use the string that we are gonna tie it on with anyway. And then let's see, I'm gonna pick a spot next to the handle to put my first one, and then I'm going to just shove it back through the material. It doesn't really matter where, because I'm not saving that. That's just how I'm marking where I'm putting it. Then I'm going to put the other one on the other side, same place. Let's see here. Not too far apart. We do want our eyes to look like they belong together, but far enough apart that when I put the mouth on there, there'll be plenty of room. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the mouth, which for some reason I left a much smaller string on. Should have made it bigger. And my mouth I want in the middle. So same way, just shoving the thing through so it stays. And now you guys can see how that's going on there. I like the way that looks. I like the way it looks on the bucket, and I like the way it looks when my kid will pick it up. So now I'm just going to sew it on. I'm going to take one at a time to sew on, and I'm going to leave the other ones in my material. So this one, I'm going to take it off, keep it in mind right where I had it. And now I will put it back through that same spot I started, pull it through, and this time when I sew it on, I'm actually going to go on the back side, go through the next stitch, and then go through the front of that same stitch. So see how it's now on both? Then I'll go through these. It's kind of hard to see, huh? See how I'm, get my finger out of the way. Going through the next stitch in the circle into the back, pulling it through, making sure I go through the next stitch, so I'm wrapping it around those stitches, and I'm making sure that I'm going through the next stitch in the round, just like this. And you're going to continue to go all the way around like that, and you're going to tie it off and weave this end in the back. And when I'm done, I'll come back and we can see the finished project. Then we'll finish the pumpkin up. All right, so I got the face on there. I'll tilt it up so you guys can see it. There it is. So now, like I said, once I get it all the way done, I'll make it so you guys can see it better. But there's that. The ghost is done. Now, we just need to make the eyes and mouth of the pumpkin. And in tradition to the pumpkin, I'm going to do triangle eyes. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you're going to single and then the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you should have 5 single crochets now as your base row. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn. And then you're going to do what's called a decrease. You're going to do a single crochet first. Then you're going to do a single, or you're going to put your, this is the single decrease. So you're going to put your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop. Then you're going to put your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. So now you have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that is how you decrease 1 stitch. Then you're going to do a single crochet and a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And there's the next space. Now chain 1, turn, single in the first, and now you're going to do another single decrease. So you're going to go put your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, put your yarn into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and then single in the next stitch. And now you have 3 stitches left. Now you're going to single, turn, and do a single crochet, and then you're going to do a decrease into the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop, chain 1 and turn, and this time you're going to end with a decrease, and that will give you a nice looking triangle. And you're going to make 2 of those. Finish off, make sure you leave a long enough yarn tail so that you can sew it on. And 1 out of 2 are done. Alright, so you're going to start with a slip knot stitch. And then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chains. You're a single and the second chain from the hook, and in each stitch all the way down. Now once again, these are just suggestions. You guys can do what you want as far as size goes. If you did longer chain, you're going to get bigger eye. Alright, now chain 1, turn, and single into the first stitch. Now you're going to decrease. So put your hook through the stitch, pull up a loop, put your hook through the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And then you're just going to do a single on the next 2 stitches. And the last stitch. Alright, now chain 1 and turn. And then single in the first stitch, single decrease in the next stitch, and single in the next stitch. Chain 1 and turn, single in the first stitch, single decrease in the next 2 stitches, and chain 1 and turn and single decrease in the last 2 stitches and pull up to give you your point. Pull it tight, leave a long enough tail to sew it on, And your eyes are done. So I'm simply just going to make a square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 looks like a good number. That'll give me a smile of 10. So then I'm going to single crochet in each of these. Starting with the second chain from the hook, single crochet in there and all the way across. Now it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. There's that. Now you're going to chain 1 and turn and single into each single crochet across. And this will give you a rectangle look. And then just like the other basket, you're going to sew these on in the same manner as those other vase. Just like that. Chain 1 and fasten off. Leaving a long tail to sew it on the bucket. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go sew this on. And when I am done, I will come back and I will see if I can make this screen bigger so you can see the whole project. Alright, I got the face on there. Just like that. There it is. It's all done. Take that off. You can actually store this without the bucket and fold it up and put it away for another year. Or you can also use this as just the bucket, a bag, if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to put a bucket in it. I like the bucket because it keeps it stiff, so the girls can just have the candy drop right into it and no worries. But also has nice handles for them to hold on to. There's the pumpkin. And here's the ghost. And it's still kind of hard to see in it. There you go. My ghost eyeball has one that's way off. Oops. Oh well. Guess what? My kid's not gonna care. I doubt she'll even notice. But there you go. 2 buckets. 2 different styles. Good options. Put it away. Get it back out next year. Can use it over and over again. Or, change out your bucket for a Christmas one. You could use the same pattern and do it green and red or silver, or lots of options. So enjoy your Halloween. Have a safe and happy one, and go forth and crochet.